it. But thanks again, guys, for making it happen, making the milestone happen. And we actually have another milestone, which is Laughstone.
Yes.
So, if you want to see that happen,
Or hear that
go ahead,
happen.
hear that happen. Or you just like what we do, go and, take a look at patreon.com/valuetown and think about supporting the show.
A lot of people do on the Patreons. They give out like prints, like cosplayers and stuff like that. Maybe you should try that approach.
Prints? You mean like pictures
like
of us?
full screen pictures of ChanManV posing. Like.
How
Maybe
about
that'll
full
be
screen
really-
pictures of Smilestone
Really?
segment?
I mean, it works for. I see a lot of like cosplayers do that. They design costumes and pose in them, and they sell those.
I don't
somehow.
think they would.
I would support some
so?
ChanManV
Okay.
dressed up as Hearthstone cards. I don't know.
All right.
I mean, I think you have to be like you have to be cosplaying as someone like
Revealing too. That's what
Revealing.
it's
right.
Yeah.
You have to show
Revealing.
some cleavage.
You gotta
Shannon.
get some skin out there,
Hey,
man.
you're part of this too, Noxious.
Oh yeah, both of you are. Yeah, you guys.
Oh,
You guys
man.
both gotta get some skin. It's really what the show needs.
Okay, I
see.
see skin. So so that cosplay sex sells is what you're saying. Okay, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to. I'll have to test the waters. Let's do a poll later on and see how people respond to that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
man.
No one will troll that for sure. They'll give you 100% serious answers all
Oh
the
my
time.
god! They're like, what's that milestone? Immediately make it. Okay.
Put it like $5,000 to be safe.
So,
Just make it a good
That's what you
milestone. Make
say.
it worth it, Shannon.
yeah.
It's never
exactly.
leaving the internet.
Exactly. All right, well, let's move on to some news just in the community. And we've got some player news, which is actually pretty rare these days. Sidonia was picked up by TSM, big organization that, for the most part in Hearthstone, has been more interested in streamers and big personalities than competitive players. So Sidonia is their first competitive player. I mean, Trump is starting to play competitive again, but I think Trump was more picked up as a personality to begin with, though. The Sidonian, I would say, is like a bona fide competitive player more than he is personality. What does that say about Hearthstone? I mean, I think the general thoughts was that Hearthstone, from the standpoint of being, team sponsorships and competitive teams, it was dropping off. But TSM kind of flips the I guess that outlook with this.
Everyone else is dropping their competitive teams or trying to switch their competitive teams into streaming teams or content producing teams. And so, yeah, I don't know what they're doing. That seems really, really strange. Like, Zixo can't get on a team consistently. And he's got to be one of the best competitive players that there has ever been in Hearthstone. So what is going on? They definitely value content. I'm sure Sidonia is going to be making content or something.
He'll be streaming. He said he'll be streaming now.
I think it's got to do with streaming, probably.
He had to have signed some sort of contract that's like, I'm going to stream this amount of hours, and they're probably, gambling on if he's going to become a personality or not. I think that's probably more along the lines. I don't think they're signing him as his true competitor. Like, that's not the direction Hearthstone's going in right now. I think it's going further the other direction.
I agree. With the entertainment being at the forefront and competition taking a bit of a backseat.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, most people. I think that's just what the general consensus has been just the last year or so.
But
so
that would be cool if he's like going into competitive and they have some insider knowledge, and that's why they're investing in competitive players. They're like, well, we know about these secret tournaments that are going to come up, and it's the new expansion is going to make everything more competitive, even though Life Coach said that's not true. So maybe they know something, but.
Or maybe there's a huge team league again that's like bigger than Trinity, and they need to get.
And they just get one guy in,
and they get one guy for their team.
I don't think so.
I mean, I guess Sidonia. Wait, is Trump still with them? Kind of.
Yeah, Trump's
still with them.
Crip's with them, but I don't think Crip's gonna be playing.
So the Trump Crip Sidonia team, I'd watch that.
I'd watch it. I think everybody would watch it. That's for sure.
That would be good. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally.
Get that going on.
So anyways, congrats to him. Congrats for him getting picked up.
Sure.
Yeah, because he wasn't. I think he might. Was he on a team? Was Sidonia?
No, so Sidonia's been. So Sidonia blew up like last year. I think, like in HCT Americas, and then it all blew up. Actually, it was his first tournament. I wouldn't say he blew up at that point. It's just over time he accumulated more and more wins. One of the things I'll say about Sidonia is that initially, after winning HCT, that was back with the 8-mana Call the Wild, and it was a lot of, do you have call, do you win? And so people dismissed, his play a lot, and he wasn't exactly as solid as he is now. Sidonia was definitely not on the level that he's at nowadays, and the consistency wasn't quite there at first. but he's really shown an interest and a willingness to improve. And initially, he wanted to go on a team as soon as the HCT Americas got finished, but he was working, I think, part-time, in a real job, and he wasn't ready to put it aside
or something, I think.
Yeah, something about pharmacy, so pharmacology. So he's done a bunch of. He's probably evaluated whether or not engaging Hearthstone full time was worth it, and based on the results that he's had over the last months, I'd argue that he's probably made his mind up about it. And hell, who knows? Maybe he even poked TSM.
He did some good work in China, and as a competitor, that's the tournaments you want to win. If you're collecting prize money, they got some money over there in China, and they just give it away. They're just 32nd place. You just get a couple grand. It's great. So
32nd place, couple grand. Yeah.
No, if you. They have $1 million prize pools over there. And we don't even hear about them in the States, so you don't get any publicity for yourself here. But yeah, I've won a couple of tournaments in China. It's fantastic, dude. They pay out, dude. They're solid.
Crazy. And Noxious cats.
Zero publicity for it, but
yeah.
Give and take. You get a lot of money, so it's worth it.
Yeah, I think with Sidonia, TSM's been following them. I think even since that win over in America, maybe a little bit after that, but it said in an interview that they've been following him for a little bit, and it wasn't really until this past year, maybe after the China thing, that it became more serious, and that's kind of when they deal on it. So
okay,
good for him, and we'll see if they pick up any more people in the coming future. The next bit of, I guess, the next topic or next bit of news that was happening at least late last week was the whole pack price increase that happened because of the currency exchange adjustment. And just to fill you guys in that don't know what we're talking about, the price for packs went up everywhere except for the U.S. Recently, just because I think the price was just always $1.99, whatever currency it was. I think just across the board for the longest time when they started Hearthstone, and they never really corrected it for just currency exchange or different values of currency. Unlike their other games, Overwatch actually has it already done, right from the get-go, and some of the others. But our Hearthstone just put it off for the longest time, so they finally ended up deciding to do it right before this release. So there was a bit of a pushback, or just a lot of people complaining about it late last week. So what do you guys think of that? I mean, obviously it's a price increase for everybody, but at least me and you, Firebat, Noxious, it might be an increase for you too. I don't know. Being in Canada,
there's no increase for me. In the States, it doesn't matter, right? So in the States and Canada, one of the things to keep in mind here is that even though it's a fine decision in terms of financially, I think it's the worst possible PR move they could have possibly made at this point in time. Barring we're disenchanting your old wild cards to make sandwiches with, this is probably the next one. This is, I think, I feel like somebody forgot to ask, hey guys, how's the state of your PR right now?
They maybe should have waited till after everybody loved Ngaru.
I feel like
because everyone loves the expansion, no matter which expansion in Hearthstone, everyone has loved it. Even the crappy ones, they've loved during the first month.
Yeah.
So right after everyone's in love with it, then drop it. But they wouldn't make as much money if they did that. So, but I don't. Arguably, since the PR is so bad, maybe they would have made more if they had just
at least wait for the spoilers, or at least
spoilers.
Cited, right? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they completely
yin-yang it, have it balanced out. Right now, it's just negative on negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a bit of confusing for me, but I mean, I get why they're doing it. I need to see in a year, if the currency stabilizes the other way, if they bring the prices back down, because I'd cut my left arm if they did.
Yeah, they probably won't.
No, they probably won't. So my point is
probably a permanent change to get more money. I know how companies work, and they tend to want more. That's usually the direction they go. They don't give back very often. It's usually they want more.
True. That's the big question too, whether they would adjust. Yeah, if it was the opposite direction.
But
I tend to agree. I don't think
I'm in the States, so I don't care that much.
It doesn't affect me, but it does suck for a lot of the global Hearthstone players.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
and already the barriers to entry to this game are ridiculous. I've played every card game has a lot of really high barriers to entry. As I was telling Noxious earlier about my episode of getting goated. But Hearthstone's getting kind of ridiculous with how many cards you need. Every deck's got some legendaries in it. Every deck has things from different expansions and different sets.
Yep.
The standard rotation's just finally kicking in, so that's supposed to fix it. But I could not imagine trying to get someone into Hearthstone that didn't seriously want to spend money and get into the game right now.
Yeah.
Unless they wanted to just play Arena, then I could get them into Arena. But like getting into constructed play is starting to get a lot less relatable. And as that becomes less relatable, there's going to be less viewers. And as there becomes less viewers, everything trickles down from there. So the most important thing is having new players be able to relate to the competitive scene and relate to the constructed gameplay, if that's the most watched gameplay. So soon the game might just go all kind of Arena.
Well, that might be one of the reasons why they made Arena standard too.
Exactly.
Just to change up Arena for the short term.
Also make Arena more relatable.
More relatable, more accessible to the ladder too. So
because ladder is becoming further and farther disconnected. Because at rank 20, I'll see people with full constructed Reno decks. Like I was just versus a full Reno lock at rank 20 with all the cards, and it's like if you're a rank 20 player, like a real rank 20 player that just started the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my dad was at rank 20, so I was helping him play because he was like, "Can you build a deck with the cards on my account?" And he doesn't have all the cards. He's just trying to, play Hearthstone to relate to me a little bit. And so I build him a constructed deck, and we just get our ass kicked for like an hour by like real decks. And I'm a professional.
Exactly.
And I couldn't build him a deck that wins. And he put, $50 into the game, and I couldn't win with his account. Yeah. So
it's not enough. I've actually I've looked at a lot of the. That's one of the things that I've been looking at all the other games, the card games that people compare Hearthstone to. Like at this point, it's kind of become a meme to me. The whole.
Well, it's
free to play.
Every card game's
by the
like
way,
this, though.
Yeah,
every card game's like this, but not all the card games trickle so little. Because one of the things with Hearthstone is that I feel like dust being a universal value, and with the value, you need 8 commons to make 1 common. Commons are not a big deal. You open a bunch of them. You need 4 legendaries to make 1. You need 4 epics to make 1.
But then some of the other games, though, they have a better conversion rate, but then they allow you to have 3 copies of
a legendary.
And that gets ridiculous even faster, even though the conversion rate's better. I mean, all the card games are fairly similar, but Hearthstone is starting, I'd say, to get more expensive. Like it used to be very accessible in the beginning. And obviously, the majority of this problem is caused by more cards, more expansions, and whatnot. But I don't think the standard rotation is as refined as it could be. I definitely think there needs to be
the standard
more accessible.
Even if it's not refined, at least it's capped though. At
least it's something. I guess,
it's capped. It's not going to continually get more and more and more. I think that by cutting off, by retiring cards, they limit the amount that it can get just out of hand. So at least we have that upper limit to it right now. But I agree, it is higher than it's ever been. I think most of the, we always used to have Zoo, right? Zoo was always super good. Maybe Zoo will be good again, really, really soon. But we've always had that cheap deck in Zoo that could still compete at the highest, and people could at least relate to that. Now we have these decks that have, 2 or 3 legends.
I don't know. I think there should always be some way to free to play and within a week get legend.
Get legend, yeah. I think that. I'm not saying.
I don't think.
I
think
so.
Very easy to do it right now. It's way more difficult than it's ever been in the past to free to play to legend in a week, and I think that should be possible. You should be able to just unlock all the time. It's even big, huge, expensive games where you can get advantages and whatnot. I am a gamer and I can beat all of those games in a week. Just any game out there, I bet you I could beat it in a week. I play games a lot, but Hearthstone started to be one of the more challenging ones to beat in a week, and beat in the sense of get to legend.
Yeah, actually get to the top of the ladder. It's actually a very daunting task. So it's I've had trouble in introducing people to the game, and that's where that comes from for me as well. Is I've actually realized that people I introduce to the game, they say, "Yeah, I love it," and I'm like, "You want to play a game?" And they say yes. Then I try to play a budget deck, and it's the cards they have are not the cards they want to have. Someone wants a Lore Walker Cho in Hearthstone. That's the point I bring up often, just to have fun, right? It's a meme card. Costs them the same as Sylvanas and Ragnaros. And the point is that there are some cards with cool effects that are gated. So even the fun part of Hearthstone, what's supposed to be, here are these amazingly fun cards. The epics, the legendaries, those are the most costly. So the fun stuff, not even the best stuff, is actually really costly. So at what point do you draw the player in by telling them, hey, here are all these fun things you can do without, dumping billions on it? Because you won't win with Lore Walker Cho. You're not.
That brings up a good point.
Friends before, and the first thing they crafted was Noggin Fogger, and that's because they loved it. They're like, this is so cool. And they're
like, but it's cool.
Yeah, and so they have that's their legendary that they have, and they don't have any other legendaries, and
they've got Yogg.
They wanted to have fun, but now that they're having fun, eventually it gets old having fun with one card, and then they're like, all right, now I want to try and actually progress in the game, and they can't. They just spent without investing more money, which I guess is probably one of the points, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do
want to invest in the game. Now you have to spend more money. They rope you in,
right?
I don't know.
That's a good segue into like one of the other things I want to talk about, which is more of a community topic, which is our epic drops way too low right now, given that there are some super powerful epic cards, but at the same time there's a bunch of very bad epic cards right now too, and given that, given the number, just the raw number of epics, the drop rate doesn't seem to match it, as well as say like legendary drops and the rare drops. What do you guys think of that? Because that was a pretty big topic too on Reddit last week.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really ever open packs, and I have all the cards, so it's really hard for me to relate. Because even when I do open packs, like after winning heroic tavern brawls and stuff, I just kind of jamming spacebar, zoning through it, not really paying attention. Yeah. So I can't really relate to this issue at all. I don't know, but
I feel the same way. So I feel you.
I have never really had I mean, when I generally open packs, I feel like I get a ton of epics. Like I think my epic drop is way better than my legend drop, just statistically.
Yeah, but how many packs do you buy with real money versus free to play? Like free to play wants to build like any deck that has like 4 epic. Let's say you want to build Miracle Rogue, technically not the most expensive deck. Like for a while, in the patches rotation, you needed like 2 preps, the Edwin, the patches. What used to be a somewhat budget deck with Arcane Golem finishers is now a pretty pricey deck to get into. So it's like even the decks that used to be.
I mean, every deck is shaped around some legendary from the last set.
Right,
you have to have
now,
either
yes.
Aya or patches, or you're not playing anything. You need to have Aya, patches, or Kazakus, otherwise you're not playing the game. So, and if you want to play all those archetypes, you need all 3 of those legendaries, because otherwise you're not getting past rank 5. They're pretty important cards.
Yes. True fact.
True. That's definitely true.
I mean, I don't know. It's starting to feel sellout. Like it feels really sellout playing Hearthstone. I feel like there's got to be ways that they could monetize less aggressively.
And yeah, just will make the cards a little bit easier or more available to people.
Login rewards, right? Like we're looking at this now, and they're experimenting with login rewards come around on Goro. I don't know exactly how long that's going to stand for. Some of the rewards I think are placeholders. The 50 gold a day instead of the usual 100-ish value that they plan to add. So if they're going to give people 100 gold a day for free worth of stuff, whether it's 100 dust, an old pack that is viable in standard, an Ungoer pack, whatever the case may be, at 100 gold per day plus the daily quest and some of the grinding, we're looking at maybe 2 packs a day for the average player, with login rewards included. And I think at that point, at 60 packs a month over 4 months, you're getting like 240 packs in an average gameplay session, I'd say, for the players. And then you're looking at decent collection completion by the end of an expansion if you play for real.
We need it so bad to have because the general population in Hearthstone is really bad. And part of them being really bad at the game is most of them don't have the cards. If they could honestly get more access to the cards, I think it would help the amount of people that care about the competitive scene and want to get into the game competitively, because there's more people with the resources available, so they would do it.
I mean, they've started. I mean, they started to do it a bit. I mean, they the
quests
one expansion,
are really good.
Well, the expansion, that one expansion they gave literally, the legendary, and they gave us legendaries right from the get-go, right? Even like old gods, they gave us Cthulhu. I think it started with old gods, really. Cthulhu was given to everybody. Everybody got 4 of the the cards that helped them. There were some expansions where they gave very discounts, basically.
I think it's a good thing to do that. I think it's a very good thing to get more people access to the content. I think there's a lot of content available, and the more players you can get access to the content, the more they're gonna start caring about the game, and you'll make that money back. I think. I'm not an expert, and I'm not a marketing scientist or anything like that, but I do play the game, and I talk to people that play the game a lot. And once people hit a certain point when they're getting into it, if they just got a few extra cards and then they push themselves a little bit further and actually really get into the game, you end up making money from those guys because then they build full golden decks and all that sort of stuff. So I think it would be a good investment on Blizzard's end to make some of the content more available to the average player, make packs cheaper rather than more expensive or something like that, so that then people get more into the game and then continue to buy more packs later on and then watch the competitive scene, which they make money off people watching the game. They make money off of all this other stuff, merchandise, because people get into the game. Like, everybody that really gets into the game ends up spending a boatload of money.
Well, it's one of the things where, and maybe Noxious, you alluded to it a bit just with dust economy. If they could have a system, and obviously that it would require some kind of dust calculations, I don't know, but if you could just discount the older packs, like the older expansions, you know, like when stuff first comes out, just like anything else, when stuff first comes out, it's expensive. It's supposed to be expensive. It's supposed to be, you know, like as expensive as it gets. And then once it becomes older, then, you know, you can get discounts on it. And the communities have talked about like expansions and things like that. But the problem is the dust is always constant, you know, for a lot of those things. So people would just, you know, abuse it and buy the hell out of the cheap packs and then just convert all the dust, right? And then buy the new cards. So,
well, you could reduce the dust they grant as well. I mean, it's not an issue.
Yeah, they could do that too.
In terms of crafting, it could also be the other way around, where it crafts for less, but it gives you less.
Okay, sure.
And then the price of the packs can go down. But one of the big things you have to keep in mind is that Blizzard, you know, mentioned the point about physicality. We want your collection to feel real. Hearthstone doesn't have trading. Your collection has no value once you quit the game. And as a result of that, it's definitely a sunk cost 100%. And so the sunk cost fallacy is also keeping some people engaged in Hearthstone right now that I've spoken to. I know that for a fact. And one of the funny things about that is that if you tell them that their collection right now, they have to pay 100 gold per pack, and then, you know, 4 months down the line or 8 months down the line, that pack is worth 50 gold. It just feels worse for those players. Like the sunk cost fallacy just kicks in 10 times as hard, and they just refuse to engage it. Like, you know, those guys just say, you know what, this isn't worth it. I'm out. So you'll still keep the whales that want the premium stuff, and those are a huge chunk of your income. But the medium sized, you know, buyer that occasionally spends money might be turned off.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a matter. I guess strategically, it's just a matter of do they want to try to get more new, you know, new users, or do they want to just keep trying to bring back the people that have played it at one point? And I feel like they focused a lot on trying to bring back people just historically to this point. And I don't know if it's been good for the game. Just a lot of the decisions have been made based on that kind of strategy. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just like, you make a lot of valid points there. It's just like, it's a sunk cost for sure. There's no collectability of this game. Like we've already established that. I mean, some people still collect the gold cards, but in reality, it doesn't. It's like a single player collection type of thing more than it is something that you can that has distinct value, you know, from the standpoint of collectibles. So yes, I view it the same way too, Noxious. It's you know, it shouldn't be viewed like that, and because it shouldn't be viewed like that, I think the value of older things should be questioned at this point. And you know, yeah, there's some players, they're going to be pissed off that, yeah, I spent all this money, but you got to do something, right? You can't just continue as is and just have, you know, kind of be losing on both ends of it. You have to pick one side or the other. Either you're trying to get more new users like aggressively, or a little bit like more aggressively than trying to retain previous users, or you're doing the opposite. It's just like you have to choose.
All they're doing, every decision they make is always chasing the people that aren't playing the game. They're either trying to bring people back that quit, or they're trying to get new people into the game. And they really give about zero attention to the people actually currently playing the game.
That's the way business works, though. When it comes to game dev, that's the thing. Like, I want to criticize that portion of it, but at the same time, I know how it works with behind the scenes. So it's just kind of.
I don't get it, man. I think if you're able to make your consumer base happy while they're playing the game, they'll keep playing the game. They'll tell other people. They'll get other people involved in the game. More people will progress. I think the biggest and scariest fact in Hearthstone is how many people are at rank 20 and just stuck at rank 20.
Just stop there, yeah.
Yeah, they just stop at rank 20 non-legend. Like, that's majority of the people that play Hearthstone are there, and that's scary to me. I think if you're going to have a community that actually can bond over the game and can create good content and progress and then have a competitive scene, you need a higher percentage of people that are actually getting truly involved in the game.
Definitely good points there. All right, well, we spent a lot of time there, so why don't we move on to global games? Maybe this is the last point that we'll have today. So global games voting ended, I think, a couple of days ago. And Firebat, obviously, you were one of the folks on the U.S. Or one of the nominees for the U.S. team. One thing I did want to mention is that something we talked about. I don't know if we talked about on air, Noxious, or maybe off air, but one thing that was nice to see was people actually going and campaigning for votes. Unfortunately, the voting system didn't really quite allow for people to change their votes, or like people didn't know that the voting day was going to be starting on this day anyway, so they couldn't even prepare campaign videos. But we did see Jackie come out with a rap video, and we saw another rap video that was made from somebody promoting for another player, but it was good to see, like this is the kind of thing that makes the global games more fun, and more of a community type of thing. So I want to get your thoughts on it. Like, Noxious, why don't you start off?
Well, I mean, there's really not much to say aside from the fact that, the community picked up the beacon. Blizzard kind of pushed out the voting, and the community made something of it, as opposed to just let it fall flat on its face, because it looked like it was about to do nothing. It was about to just be
close.
Right. It was very close to just not having any discussion, not generating any hype, not generating any type of interest. But the people involved said, you know what, this is my chance of maybe collecting some of that social media capital. Go. And they went ahead and tried to get
I also think that
out there. And I'm really happy that some people saw it as an opportunity, as opposed to just, no one's interested, I'm just going to do the same and not care either.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised at how low impact it was, because like when we heard the announcement for it of the global games, it was going to be like this cool, super organized tournament, and it was going to be sweet, and everyone cared about it in the beginning. There's so much hype behind it, and then they just went silent with it for a really, really long time. And then they emailed a bunch of people, and then they just put their name on a voting page with one announcement. There's not a lot of hype behind it, not a lot of advertising behind it, not a lot of anything going on. I got emailed a contract thing that I had to sign to be put on it, but it was 3 weeks late, and I don't know. So for me, it was really disorganized, and the entire process was a hassle. And I was thinking about dropping out because it wasn't going anywhere, and it was such a hassle to even get put on the page. So I was like, screw this.
Well, you made it on there in the end, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just felt like it. I mean, I've been through the whole Worlds process before, and this was even more disorganized than the Worlds process. So I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared of how well it's going to be.
They could have executed. They could have executed it much better. And I think last week we even talked about, with the rat, that we talked about just what Dota has done, right, with the Summit, Beyond the Summit guys, and some of the voting and things that they have before some of those events, where the actual votes can swing, just who gets to participate in the events, and how successful that's been, over in the Dota scene. And this was, this was set up to be something like that just conceptually, but not in execution.
I love
unfortunately,
the idea.
Yeah,
I think the idea could have been something amazing. I just think they really kind of half-assed it. If I'm gonna be totally blunt with you, there was not a lot of effort behind the global games this part, and I hope they step it up in the future. Otherwise, if the event and the production quality comes out for the event and it's disorganized, because it is very hard to organize this.
Oh my god!
There's a lot
Look how many
of moving
countries.
Parts. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. So it looks amazing on paper. Very hard idea to execute right, and it's not off to a great start. So I'm scared right now. They have to really step it up if they're going to make this actually pop and be something exciting.
Yeah,
because it's reminded me of what Tespa's been right now, and Tespa's had a couple thousand viewers generally on its stream for the first 8 months of it happening. So I'm afraid that Global Games is going to be some tournament that gets 1,000 viewers just like that, when they have all of the tools and all of the resources to make it amazing.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous too, but the first step is actually just announcing at least who won. Or who actually the actual teams are, and then bracing yourself for that first to see how people react to the teams. But yeah, to your point, there's so many countries. That's a lot of players, just period. Those are four-man teams, right? They're four-man teams for, I don't know how many countries there were, 50 countries or
I would not want to
countries?
Organize that, because I don't think I would be able to. I've ran tournaments before, and it is a pain in the ass. I've dealt with players before, which are all teenagers that have zero responsibility and zero control over themselves. So that's a pain in the ass, getting them to show up on time and stuff. Now magnify that times 100. holy crap, they are in for a lot of work. They better hire extra people. However much people they have hired to work on global games, hire twice as many.
Twice as many, double it.
It's
just
very difficult to do this sort of thing and keep everything organized. I don't know if you've ever like been to high school, but you're dealing with mainly high school kids and like junior college kids. And that's what these teams are composed of. They're difficult to manage, and it's difficult to get everything set up. And yeah, and if it doesn't get executed well, then everyone complains, and then that causes negative PR, which then makes it more difficult. And then your employees are like get disappointed and sad that are working on that particular project. Like, I've done this before. It's hard. Hire twice as many people that they got now is my advice to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know when. I mean, at least they haven't given a date yet, so I think they can. The date might be something that they could push out a little bit if they need more time to plan it. But it is a huge endeavor, and hopefully it does improve. Hopefully, we can get into something that is more of a national pride type of thing than it has been so far. I think the maybe the most interesting thing that they did for it was just take quotes, and put quotes by.
Well, they misprinted everybody's quotes. They took quotes from people and then summarized them in their own words. Yeah. So whoever was in charge of putting the quotes up changed everybody's quotes to whatever the hell they felt like it. So that wasn't good. That was a huge backlash already.
Okay, that's true too.
So none of those quotes were what people said. People said other stuff, and then they just kind of were like, "Yeah, he really means this. I'm too lazy to write the whole thing," and then wrote out.
I'll be your
instead.
Editor, basically.
Yeah, like that's not okay.
All right, well, that was global games. Hopefully it'll be
potential.
Good. It's got potential. I'm still hopeful it ends up being.
I'm hopeful, but I'm on the fence. Like I've seen esports stuff before. I've seen Blizzard do tournaments before, so I can't be fake positivity. I got to be real with you and be. It's gonna be an adventure. Next year, everything will be flawless with it. But the first year it's happening. The first year that it's happening is going to be sketchy, but next year it'll be good. That's what Blizzard does.
In the theme of what we've all been saying about 2017, one more growing pains year here. Okay, well, why don't we go into questions? We've got Ahmed, as usual, our very reliable question asker that we have. And for those of you that want to email us any questions so that we can read it on the show, go ahead and email those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. We have a ton of Megatorp cards. You can keep sending those, but we definitely have ample Megatorp cards, which we try to get to every time we have the segment. But, questions, we pretty much go through all the questions every. All right, Ahmed, he asks, in an effort to encourage wild mode, how feasible is it for Blizzard to make wild-only cards available to all players, but can't be disenchanted? They don't sell them anyways, and they are just there for dust as some free-to-play players tend to dust their wild cards, making the format worse. Kind of like, yeah.
Oh, I have to do my evil laugh because I'm pretty sure that this year we'll have some support for wild, and there will be wild packs in the store, and they will sell. So my assumption is Blizzard's going to monetize this huge segment of dead content and make something of it.
Yeah, they have to, right?
I mean, I don't want to burst the bubble and be like,
how do you think it's going to be? Just
regular
packs?
Here's a card pack called a wild pack. It's a mix of GVG, Nax, and whatever's in the past. Next time that another set rotates out, it's going to contain those cards too, and they're it's just going to be that.
And then they're going to have the wild HCT as well, probably eventually in the future.
Sure.
Like,
do you guys?
Because in other card games, they have the standard format, and then they have the other different formats.
We're not being.
They'll have tournaments for those formats, so they can monetize those cards still.
It's not pessimistic though. It's just the way that card games operate. Like when you have this huge segment of content, what are you going to do with it? Like you have to do something with it.
I get it.
And
business.
Like getting a zombie chow right now. Like crafting a zombie chow costs you 40 dust right now. Now you want to craft a sludge belter that's 100. You want to craft a shade of Nax that's 400. Like what the hell? Like when I got the expansion, it cost me pebbles. And now it costs people a ton because they have to disenchant the new stuff to get the old stuff. So the value transfer is terrible for them. Because if they commit to one game mode, then they don't get to play in the other. For most players, at least, that are trying to get into Wild right now, they're sacrificing Standard. So you really just can't
try to get into Wild. Like I get it if you just have the cards, but trying to craft backwards into Wild, really?
I've heard of some people
going. It depends. If it becomes
Dr. Boom, making Mysterious Challenger. Going and play Secret Pally. Like we've played that deck so much that we just can't stomach it anymore. but they've only heard about it, and they're like, I feel like that would be a cool deck to play. Go.
You want to experience it.
Yeah.
I'm just, they're really pushing Wild, and I think it's pretty clear that they really do want some type of competitiveness in Wild eventually.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm hyped.
Man, that worries me, man, because...
Really?
Yeah, because...
I mean, the entire purpose of competitiveness in Hearthstone is to monetize the cards. It's to make people want to buy more.
I get that, but it's more of a support thing. It's just like, I feel like the esports staff has their hands full right now, even with standard, and they're trying to get the best format there. And if you throw on Wild on top of that, and balancing
for a few years,
of Wild,
right?
Oh my God.
Well, it doesn't need to be balanced. We've seen that from the standard scene. But
that's true, though.
They're going to pile it on there and just use it as like. There's plenty of card games that are less skill-based than Hearthstone that have competitive scenes for the purpose of selling products. That then have competitive scenes in multiple outdated formats for the purpose of selling product. Like, that's just a smart way to monetize all of the content you produce. Why produce a content if you're only going to sell it for a year? Like, you produce content to sell it forever.
I get it. No, I totally get Wild. It's just my worry is just the support's just not there.
Oh, it's not going to be there for a while. Yeah,
so
it's going to take a long time for the support to happen. And then even when it does happen, a lot of times they rely on the community for a lot of the support instead of creating their own support. So their philosophy is, if we give them the avenue to create their own support, people will create support. And that happens with like wikis and community sites for games all the time.
Sure. I mean, it's just like the community. The community, like, has events and things like that. Yeah, I totally get that. It's just, I don't know. We've just seen the general communities, particularly vocal Reddit community, and how they react just to standard. Imagine Wild, it's not even balanced. I mean, it's like, if that actually became like we have hundreds of we have $1 million Wild tournament, and there's just like these crazy, stupid.
They have $1 million tournaments for random crappy apps all the time that are not competitive whatsoever.
Especially in China.
How can you complain? It's a free opportunity to get $1 million. Like, you're not hurting anybody. Why do they care that it's not balanced? A lot of people, like the vocal people, are like, we hate that it's not balanced. A lot of people just like watching the show, man.
Yeah. Ragnaros, yeah.
I mean, it sucks for the guy that's losing, but plenty of people don't care.
I've accepted it. Like, I'll just put it that way. I feel like ChanManV is still struggling with.
Most people have accepted the fact that people just love watching. People watch for the animations, the characters, the storylines. They don't know the game, but that's like the average viewer.
Well, they don't know the game because it's hard to. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that just aren't explicit in the game right now. That's what's difficult.
So to your point, to answer the question, Wild is probably going to get some support.
Probably hold on to your wild cards. Yeah. It's going to get support in the future. There's going to be a thing. You're going to be a cool kid with wild cards, and you're going to be the first one to participate in those wild tournaments, and then go pro and wild, and then bail me out, man. Help me out. Teach me the wild metagame when you're there. I'll be trading along because I'll be doing standard for a while. But yeah, you do you.
You do you. Definitely. Is it going to be one of these like Brood War into StarCraft players where like the bad standard players end up going into Wild and becoming like the best Wild players in the world?
Yeah,
and then once the Brood War players come over.
We've had a few of those posts actually that are fun. Like, if you look at competitive HS, at some point it started supporting Wild, submission of deck lists, and then the first few ones that came up, you're like, yeah, I'm not sure if that's that's definitely, like, you got the rank 1 legend, you got the top 10 legend, but I'm not sure that list is as robust as it could be. And it was kind of questionable the first few ones that came up, and then over time the meta of Wild actually seems to have solidified a bit, and it's less influenced by some of the standard cards that come out, and it's really good. I really like the way that Wild feels.
And the best Wild decks are Pirate Warrior, Aggro Shaman, and anything with Kazakus.
Anything with Kazakus.
Sounds pretty familiar. Sounds very familiar, guys.
But it does occasionally, you do see cards that come up, like decks that come up that are just kind of odd.
Like Mill Rogue.
Mill Rogue is one of those decks that did very well for a while because people were like, Kazakus everywhere. Rogue is like, all right, let's play this game, baby. And it started farming the Reno decks while it was, at its peak. And
Pirate Warrior is really good and wild if you want to just play Pirate Warrior with Ship's Cannon. Like, it is absurd.
Broken, dude.
But you do get, like, on Onoyotron and, like, the few decks, the occasional run-in, like, into that random deck that runs defensive, taunts is really, really frustrating.
If you want to reach rank 1 Legend and Wild, though, time efficiency wise, 100% of the time it's going to be Pirate Warrior.
Yeah,
like you cannot beat it for the amount of games per hour you can do.
No.
Yeah.
Even if you find a deck with better win rate, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can play twice as many games.
Yeah, literally like 2 or 3 times as many games because with Ship's Cannon, it decides even faster. Like
did I kill that minion? Yes. Okay, face win. That's it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just? I've never actually tried Pirate Weapon with Ship's Cannon nowadays. Oh my god,
it's absurd.
So many one-drops.
So now look at your Pirate Warrior deck list. So you have 6 1-drops and patches. You have 2 2-drops and 2 War X's.
Yeah.
And then you have a bunch of 3-drops that are really good. The only hole in the entire deck list is 2-drops.
Yep.
And there's 2 Ship's Cannons, and then that fits perfectly to have 6 2-drops, including the War X,
Yeah,
which perfectly
6-2
fits the
6-1.
statistically optimal curve for an aggro deck. So you're just fucking golden. It's just so spot on. It's absurd, dude.
Oh man. Oh, dude, that doesn't sound that fun. That doesn't sound.
But I mean, the
you
format
can
is
beat
fun,
it.
but
I mean,
Aggro
you can
Warrior
build
is-
something to beat it. You can build something specifically to beat it.
But unless everyone's doing it, it's going to be number 1 on the ladder if a guy really tries.
Yeah.
Jay Druid, man, double Druid Claw.
Jay
Double
Druid's
intro.
just inspired.
You're gonna lose the Ship's Cannon.
Double Druid
Yeah.
Claws.
You can't beat the Ship's Cannon.
I
Druid the
see.
Claw, it comes
can't
out and you're dead. Boop.
Yeah.
That's true.
You can wrath it and get punched in the face for 12
man.
afterwards, but
Yeah.
Sound fun. All right, well, I think that's going to be it. We don't have any more questions, so yeah, thanks for everybody for watching, and thanks for Ahmed for writing in, and all the folks that did send in your Mechatorps cards. Don't worry, we'll probably do Mechatorp next week, so we'll get a lot of those out there and shown and discuss them. But Firebat, great having you on as always. You are it's always a very good person to have these great in-depth discussions with, particularly with just overall what's going on in the game and community. So
I'm good at getting angry about stuff. And talking about it.
What?
I don't know. Talking about Hearthstone makes me angry, and I just keep talking, and I don't know.
He's an angry bat.
that's why I talk about it the least I can. I do it once a week on Value Town, and then I just
oh god,
don't discuss
You
it.
guys,
I'll
man.
play occasionally, but
It's fun though. Getting fired up about something's fun. I have a good time.
yeah.
It's
like
I'm
Hearthstone's
angry.
got
It's
this
a
weird
happy
thing. Yeah.
angry. Yeah.
Yeah, you're happy because you're like, I'm not the only one frustrated by this, am I? Yes, it's good. You just vent with a bunch of friends around the table.
Everybody
It's
listening
just
is like,
pretty
oh
much
my
what it
god,
is.
these guys hate Hearthstone. It's not every week, guys, that we do this, but,
Yeah. But it's not even
mean,
that we honestly people.
we talk about important things, like we're
right.
gonna
and if we get
critique
fired
something,
up,
we're gonna...
it's not a hatred of Hearthstone.
It's just passion, man.
Passion there. That's really what it is, frankly. I've never.
All right, any shout outs you want to
too
do?
much.
Firebat?
Firestone.
Firestone.
I heard that.
Firestone.
Think
I
about
heard that.
tires, dude. No.
I don't know. I don't really got any shout outs. So shout out to you guys for having me on the show. It's a good time. Shout out to Twitch chat for making fun of me.
You.
Probably. I don't know. I haven't seen them yet. I'm just guessing. But yeah, they're here. Great
Good.
guys. We good.
All right, Noxious.
Seems good. Shout out to Complexity as usual. Frankly, it's just same good team. Pretty much. Shout out to you for putting the show together again. I really can't wait to get Mechatorps workshops next week. I feel like that segment is one of the most submitted. Like if people submit so many cards, surely there's some degree of the population that loves to read or at least look at some of the cards that people come up with as well. I really like that. Custom fan creation for Hearthstone is one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
I don't know why Blizzard doesn't capitalize on that more, because there's a lot of people that make custom cards, a lot of people that make really good ones.
They can make an in-between expansions. They make like a custom set with votes and cherry-picked cards.
They could have had a card design contest, and it took like $1 to submit your card design, and they would make a fortune. They would just make a killing. It would be insane. And then
100 gold to submit, so it doesn't look like it's $1.
Sure. Right before the expansion too.
Exactly.
Right before the expansion. They would slaughter.
I mean, there are cards.
It's the heroic tavern brawl scheme.
Jesus, isn't that illegal? Like, no. As long as I guess they give away all the prize play. I guess as long as they give away all the prize pool. No, no. There's just to give a shout out. We rarely give a shout out actually to custom Hearthstone subreddit, but there's people that do this literally every day. What we do with Mechatorps from week to week. So, go ahead and check that out. They're
good too.
Yeah, they are good. Every once in a while we'll get a post, just kind of, for a while we were getting them maybe once a week, like just the top cards from our custom Hearthstone subreddit, and we get a chance to see them. But yeah, if you're into it, you can just take a look at it every single day, and there's some good ideas, and some of those even make it to the actual cards from time to time. Like, I don't know how many times the Amara card. I think that's been done like many times.
75 times. Yeah,
exactly. So we did it. Yeah. We did it. Reddit finally got the actual total health pool changed. That's really great. But yeah, check it out, guys. Go and subscribe over there too if you guys be getting a chance to see new cards. For me, I'll just give a shout out to you guys, Firebat and Noxious, of course, for doing the show every week. Everybody for hanging out and watching, and all the folks that are listening to. You guys are the best. And follow the show's Twitter at ValueTownGG. And you can follow us all on Twitter. Our Twitters are here too. And the VODs will be up on YouTube a little bit later. As always, you can watch all the past episodes on youtube.com. Be it. Oh, for all the folks that have been asking about Streamer Showdown, it's coming again, like just in a few weeks. All right, so you don't have to ask anymore. It's definitely coming again, and I'm glad you guys are really excited about it. I just have to go through the cycle of planning it again. So it's just like a never-ending cycle. I
can't believe I lost.
Oh man,
dude, so close.
Dude,
50-50. It was either Jade Druid or Jade Rogue. No Rogue and no Druid. I had it.
That was crazy. That was definitely crazy. And dude, Toast was like just barely like kept it like the last week from you 50-50 and then tying Broad. So we'll have to figure out.
They tied.
Yeah, no, they actually tied. We didn't have a tiebreaker because we were, we always have dank memes, right? It's like impossible to tie with dank memes. So that time we didn't have dank memes and we tied. So that was a new thing. But anyways, it's going to be coming in probably. Probably early April, I would say right now, just given what's going on there. But expect it then. But until then, guys, for Firebat, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Later.